Nothing has brought me greater joy than watching the Walt Disney Company absolutely panic over the last few weeks. They're mad at South Park because they're making fun of their woke ideologies, constantly race swapping or religion swapping everything in their movie.
Why is Rachel Zegler in the spotlight after South Park's sharp parody of Disney's revamped Snow White? The animated show wasted no time poking fun at Disney's increasingly bold decisions, particularly the casting of Zegler and the significant updates to the cherished fairy tale. But what's driving the backlash, and how did Zegler react to being caught in the crossfire? Let's unpack the controversy. South Park's latest episode, Into the Pandaverse, took a direct jab at Disney's trend of reimagining characters with diverse casting and storylines. This time, they flipped their own iconic characters Cartman, Stan, Butters, and Kenny into adult women of color. Fans quickly connected the satire to Disney's recent choices, including the casting of Rachel Zegler, a Latina actress, as Snow White. For many, this decision strayed too far from the classic character's origins, sparking heated debates about whether Disney is embracing diversity at the expense of its legacy. But the controversy doesn't stop at casting. Rachel Zegler herself has been vocal about the changes made to the story, revealing that the romantic arc between Snow White and the prince, a cornerstone of the original tale, has been completely removed. She even hinted that the prince's character might be written out entirely. These changes have left longtime fans frustrated, feeling that Disney is losing touch with the magic of the original story.
Or a different kind of prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because like we cast a guy in the movie.
Right.
Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think everyone's gonna have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut, who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Rachel Zegler's approach to portraying Snow White has ignited intense criticism from fans. Many have accused the actress of appearing ungrateful for the iconic role, with her comments giving off an air of entitlement. Instead of embracing the timeless charm of the original story, critics argue that Zegler seems more intent on advancing her own modern ideals, which clash with the cherished themes of the classic fairy tale. Her dismissive remarks about the romance between Snow White and the prince, an essential element of the original story, have particularly struck a nerve. Fans feel these comments show a lack of respect for the narrative that made Snow White a beloved character for generations. This disconnect has left audiences feeling alienated, questioning whether Disney and its lead actress truly understand the legacy they are reimagining.
Snacks all over the set that are apple flavored. And that hurts my feelings.
I was gonna say, I haven't...
It's like they don't know what happens to me.
It's
There's
away.
gonna be so many stories that come from the set about how difficult I am to work with simply because I don't want apples. In a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is.
So that is Rachel Zegler. She is casted as Snow White in the upcoming new movie. And ever since she has been casted, she has been problematic from the start. Every single interview that she does, her tone of voice is very rude and she comes off very rude. The movie right now has such bad publicity because of her and her interviews.
Rachel Zegler's remarks about the original Snow White story have left many fans outraged. In interviews, Zegler has dismissed the classic tale as outdated, suggesting that the reimagined version, which barely resembles the original, is the only valid way to tell the story today. This perspective has alienated longtime fans who have a deep emotional connection to the timeless narrative, feeling as though Zegler is belittling the story's legacy. Disney's dramatic overhaul of the Snow White tale has only added fuel to the fire. The seven dwarfs, once central figures with distinct personalities, have been significantly altered, stripping the story of a key element that made it so unique. Adding to the controversy is the sidelining or possible removal of the prince, an integral part of the original love story. By eliminating these iconic romantic elements, many fans feel the new film barely qualifies as Snow White, sparking frustration over why the name is even being used for a story so far removed from its roots. The decision to cast a Latina actress as Snow White has also drawn mixed reactions. Critics argue that the character's name, Snow White, was inspired by her fair, snow-like complexion, making the casting choice inconsistent with the original story's description. This controversy mirrors the backlash Disney faced when casting Halle Bailey as Ariel in The Little Mermaid. While some applaud the representation, others feel these changes deviate too much from the source material, diluting the essence of the beloved characters. However, the situation with Snow White has escalated beyond what happened with The Little Mermaid. While The Little Mermaid retained many original elements, Snow White has been so thoroughly transformed that it feels disconnected from its fairy tale origins. Critics argue that Disney's push for modern, woke sensibilities has prioritized representation over storytelling, leaving fans disappointed with a product that no longer feels authentic. South Park didn't miss the chance to satirize these issues in their episode Into the Pandaverse. Known for its biting humor, the show exaggerated Disney's tendency to race and gender swap iconic characters, portraying these decisions as superficial and pandering rather than meaningful. By targeting both Snow White and The Little Mermaid, South Park highlighted what many fans have been saying, that these changes often come at the expense of the storytelling integrity that made Disney classics timeless. South Park has a long history of taking sharp jabs at Disney, and their latest episode doesn't hold back. This time, the show critiques how studios like Disney attempt to showcase diversity by altering the race or gender of characters in beloved, well-established stories like Snow White. The episode sends a clear message: simply changing a character's ethnicity or gender doesn't create meaningful diversity, especially in narratives that were never originally designed to explore these themes. Such changes can often feel disconnected from the story's original essence, making it harder for audiences to connect with the characters. In Into the Pandaverse, South Park satirizes these diversity efforts, portraying them as shallow attempts to check boxes rather than meaningful contributions to storytelling. The show specifically targets Disney's decision to cast Rachel Zegler as Snow White, implying that the move was more about optics than enhancing the character or the narrative. This approach has left many fans feeling alienated, particularly as Zegler's controversial remarks about the original Snow White story have only added fuel to the backlash. South Park's episode also highlights the problem of pandering, portraying Zegler's casting as a marketing strategy rather than a choice driven by genuine storytelling needs. The satire suggests that this kind of pandering not only undermines the actress's performance but also disrespects the original fans of the story, leaving them with a version of Snow White that feels unrecognizable. For many, the sweeping changes to the narrative and characters have made it difficult to embrace Disney's new direction. This is far from the first time South Park creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker have taken aim at Disney. In 2022, they released The Streaming Wars and its sequel, both of which drew attention for their critical takes on Disney's content strategies. Now, with their latest mockery in Into the Pandaverse, Disney reportedly isn't thrilled. There are even rumors that the studio has tried to reach out to South Park, attempting to prevent further episodes that they see as a threat to their brand and business model. While Disney has publicly stated their goal of telling more diverse stories, many critics argue that their methods often involve remaking classic tales with race-swapped characters, rather than creating fresh, original narratives. For fans, this practice feels less like a genuine effort to represent diverse voices and more like a superficial attempt to appear progressive. The result? Stories that alienate their core audience and fuel frustration over what some see as a lack of creativity and respect for the originals. Rumors are swirling that Bob Iger and the Disney board are actively discussing ways to address the controversy sparked by South Park's latest episode. Reports suggest that Disney is considering a meeting to defuse the situation, aiming to protect its image and put a stop to the relentless satire targeting the company. South Park has a history of mocking Disney, previously taking aim at their handling of Star Wars and even poking fun at Mickey Mouse. However, this new episode, Into the Pandaverse, might be their most provocative yet, criticizing not just Disney but also other studios and fans who support drastic changes to traditional stories. The episode calls out Disney's reimagining of Snow White, particularly the removal of the classic love story. Many fans see this decision as a disservice to the original creators and the story's legacy. Instead of updating the romance to make it more meaningful for modern audiences, Disney chose to erase it entirely, a move that critics argue feels lazy and dismissive. Fans believe that Snow White could have been portrayed as both a strong, empowered character and someone with a compelling love story, offering a more balanced and relatable take on the timeless narrative. Rachel Zegler, the actress cast as Snow White, has become a focal point of the backlash due to her outspoken support for these changes. Zegler has described the original Snow White story as outdated, calling for a complete overhaul. However, this stance has alienated many longtime fans who feel that Disney is prioritizing a woke agenda over respecting its loyal audience. These fans argue that instead of rewriting a beloved classic, Disney could have focused on creating fresh, original stories that embrace diversity without altering the essence of cherished tales. Adding to the controversy, Zegler has openly admitted that she was never a fan of the original Snow White. In interviews, she has expressed her dislike for the classic story, further angering fans who feel it's disrespectful for someone to take on such an iconic role while dismissing its source material. For many, this feels like a betrayal of the character and everything she represents. Meanwhile, South Park hasn't held back. Their satirical jabs at Disney, Zegler, and what they view as misguided woke storytelling have struck a chord with a wide audience. The show suggests that these changes often fail to honor the legacy of classic stories, leaving fans disconnected and frustrated. What's your take on all this? Is South Park going too far with its parody, or are they hitting the nail on the head by exposing the flaws in Disney's recent choices? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to watch our next video for even more updates and analysis.